Have you ever caught yourself thinking, do they even realize how cruel they were? Here's the truth, they do, but it's hidden, buried beneath layers of pride, denial, and projection. That person who gaslit you, who minimized your pain, who made you question your reality somewhere deep inside, they're ashamed, not ashamed enough to come clean, not brave enough to admit it, but the feeling exists. And it shapes everything they do. You see, narcissists are masters of deflection. They turn the mirror on you, blame you, and make you feel like you're the problem. But that hidden shame is real. It whispers in their quieter moments. It surfaces in fleeting regrets, in envy of the life they see you building without them. And here's the paradox: their shame is a reflection of your worth. They see what they lost, not what they controlled. The narcissist's hidden shame is a quiet, almost invisible force that drives much of their behavior. On the surface, they often appear confident, superior, and in control, projecting an image of perfection and invulnerability. But beneath this carefully crafted facade lies a subtle, persistent awareness of the harm they've caused, the lies they've told, and the people they've hurt. This is not a shame they express openly. It is private, carefully buried, and fiercely protected. Because admitting this shame would threaten their carefully constructed self-image, they rarely acknowledge it, even to themselves. Instead, it simmers quietly, influencing their interactions in ways that are difficult to detect. You might notice fleeting moments of self-doubt, sudden defensiveness, or brief, awkward attempts to repair damage, but these are usually quickly masked or retracted. Their pride and need for control act as shields, keeping the shame hidden while subtly shaping their behavior toward others. This hidden shame also explains why narcissists often deflect blame, attack, or manipulate. It's not that they are unaware of their wrongdoing, rather, the acknowledgement of it is unbearable. Their actions are a way of avoiding facing themselves, turning the weight of shame outward onto others rather than confronting it internally. Occasionally, it leaks through in rare moments of vulnerability, a hesitant apology, or a subtle recognition of loss. But these glimpses are fleeting and never fully owned. Understanding this hidden shame is vital because it reframes your experience with them. Their cruelty, manipulation, and coldness are not a reflection of your worth. They are the result of their internal struggle with guilt they cannot face. Recognizing that their shame is theirs and not yours allows you to reclaim your emotional power. It frees you from carrying the weight of their hidden conscience and redirects your focus to healing, growth, and moving forward beyond their influence. Projection is one of the most powerful tools a narcissist uses to defend themselves against the uncomfortable truth of their behavior. When they treat you poorly, gaslight you, or betray your trust, they rarely see themselves as the problem. Instead, they unconsciously, or sometimes consciously, shift the blame onto you or others. Every criticism, every accusation, every judgment you receive is often a mirror of their own hidden flaws, fears, or insecurities. They project to avoid facing the shame and guilt that would otherwise be unbearable. This defense mechanism serves two purposes. First, it preserves their fragile self-image. If they admitted that their behavior was wrong, it would threaten the illusion of perfection and superiority they have built over time. Second, it allows them to control the narrative. By convincing you that you are at fault, they maintain power and avoid accountability. You might find yourself constantly questioning your actions, wondering if you really are too sensitive or overreacting. That is exactly the point. The projection shifts focus away from their misdeeds and onto your perceived shortcomings. Projection can be subtle or extreme. Sometimes it's a fleeting remark, a snide comment, or an offhand judgment. Other times, it escalates into a full blown narrative where they reinterpret your words or actions to make themselves look like the victim. No matter how it manifests, it is always rooted in their internal discomfort with who they are and what they've done. They cannot tolerate holding that shame directly, so they externalize it. Understanding projection is crucial for your healing. It allows you to see that their attacks, criticisms, and blame are not about you. They are a reflection of their inner conflict. Once you recognize this pattern, you stop internalizing their accusations and regain clarity. You see the narcissist for what they truly are, someone struggling with their own hidden truths, while you reclaim your power, perspective, and peace of mind. For a narcissist, awareness of their wrongdoing rarely comes in the moment. Unlike most people who feel immediate guilt or remorse when they hurt someone, a narcissist often experiences what can be called a delayed realization. The acknowledgement of their cruelty, manipulation, or emotional neglect emerges only after time has passed, often triggered by loss, failure, or seeing the life you've built without them. In the moment of their actions, their focus is on control, self-interest, or protecting their fragile ego, not on the harm they cause. This delayed realization is frustrating for those who were hurt because it can appear as if they never truly cared, and in a way, that's accurate. Their recognition of the harm is not motivated by empathy or a desire to repair the damage. It is often motivated by self-reflection that comes only when they face consequences they cannot ignore. They might notice the distance you've created, the boundaries you've set, or the respect they've lost. It is in these moments, sometimes months or years later, that shame and regret begin to surface. Even when this awareness arises, it is rarely accompanied by accountability. The narcissist may feel an internal tug of guilt or a quiet sense of embarrassment, but these feelings rarely translate into sincere apologies or reparative actions. Instead, they may retreat, deflect, or rationalize their behavior. Their realization is more about acknowledging that they mismanaged a situation, lost control, or failed to maintain their image, rather than a true understanding of the pain they inflicted. Understanding this pattern helps you reframe your expectations. Their delayed awareness does not excuse the harm, nor does it validate their behavior, but recognizing it as a trait of narcissistic thinking allows you to stop waiting for them to get it. Their realization, when it comes, is theirs to process. It is not your responsibility to validate, forgive, or rescue. Your focus remains on healing, setting boundaries, and reclaiming your peace from someone whose understanding is always delayed. A narcissist rarely takes responsibility for their actions in any meaningful way. Accountability is uncomfortable for them because it requires confronting the truth about their behavior and the pain they've caused. Instead of owning their mistakes, they find ways to deflect, minimize, or rewrite the story. When confronted, they might deny what happened, shift blame onto you or others, or justify their actions with excuses that protect their fragile self-image. This avoidance is not laziness or ignorance. It is a psychological defense designed to prevent shame and maintain control. This behavior can be confusing and frustrating for those on the receiving end. You might expect a straightforward apology, an acknowledgement of harm, or at least a willingness to engage in honest reflection. But with a narcissist, these responses are rare. Their focus is always on protecting themselves rather than repairing relationships or making amends. Even when they do apologize, it is often superficial, conditional, or framed in a way that centers their own feelings rather than addressing the real harm caused. Avoidance of accountability also explains why patterns of abuse or manipulation often repeat. Without taking responsibility, a narcissist never fully learns from their actions, and the cycle continues. They may express fleeting regret or seem momentarily self-aware, but these moments are usually short-lived and quickly buried under defensiveness or rationalization. Their need to preserve an image of infallibility outweighs any desire to genuinely own their mistakes. Recognizing this dynamic is essential for your healing. It helps you understand that their refusal to take responsibility is not a reflection of your worth or the validity of your feelings. It is a reflection of their limitations. Once you accept that accountability is unlikely, you can stop waiting for it, stop justifying their behavior, and focus instead on your own boundaries, self-respect, and emotional recovery. The narcissist's avoidance of accountability becomes less a source of frustration and more a signpost, guiding you towards self-preservation and freedom from their manipulation. Narcissists are skilled at turning guilt into a weapon, but the guilt they project is rarely authentic. It's a reflection of their own hidden shame and internal conflict. When they make you feel guilty for expressing your needs, asserting boundaries, or reacting to their mistreatment, they are essentially deflecting from the truth of their behavior. The underlying motivation is not remorse or empathy. It's a way to control the narrative and maintain power. By making you doubt yourself, they avoid confronting the consequences of their actions and protect themselves from the uncomfortable reality of their own wrongdoing. Manipulative guilt often takes subtle forms. A dismissive comment, a sarcastic remark, or a half-hearted apology can be designed to make you question your perception of events. Even acts that appear conciliatory may be layered with undertones of blame, leaving you wondering if you overreacted or if you are somehow at fault. The narcissist thrives in this confusion because it reinforces their sense of control. They know that when you internalize the guilt they create, you are less likely to hold them accountable, less likely to set boundaries, and more likely to continue seeking their approval. This manipulation works because narcissists rarely experience guilt in the same way as most people. Their conscience is selective. They feel discomfort only when their self-image or personal interests are threatened. When they see that their behavior has harmed someone, the first instinct is not reflection or empathy, but deflection. By transferring guilt onto you, they create a protective barrier between themselves and the shame they secretly feel. Understanding this pattern is liberating. Recognizing that the guilt you are feeling is being manufactured allows you to step back, detach, and see their behavior clearly. Their manipulative tactics are not a reflection of your worth, but a reflection of their inability to confront themselves honestly. Once you see this, you can reclaim your emotional clarity, refuse to internalize their blame, and protect yourself from the emotional manipulation they wield so effortlessly. Superficial apologies are a hallmark of narcissistic behavior, and they reveal much about how a narcissist processes shame and guilt. When a narcissist apologizes, it is rarely a true acknowledgement of the harm they've caused or a genuine attempt to make amends. Instead, it is often crafted to protect their self-image, to diffuse tension, or to manipulate your response. They may say the words, "I'm sorry," but the focus is usually on how the situation affected them, how you reacted, or how they feel about being caught, rather than on the real pain they inflicted. These apologies are designed to serve their needs, not yours. They may be conditional, "I'm sorry if you were hurt," or vague enough that they avoid admitting wrongdoing directly. They might even include subtle blame, suggesting that you overreacted or misunderstood the situation. This way, the narcissist appears conciliatory without ever taking responsibility. The words are spoken, but the heart behind them is absent. They are often performative, aimed at maintaining control or eliciting forgiveness so that life can return to their preferred status quo without any real change. The danger of superficial apologies lies in the false sense of closure they can create. You may hope that the apology signals genuine remorse, only to discover later that the patterns of manipulation, criticism, or emotional neglect continue. Narcissists rarely use apologies as a tool for growth or repair. They are a defensive mechanism, a shield against shame, and a way to manage the perception of others. Understanding this allows you to see through the illusion. The apology is not about your feelings, it is about theirs. Recognizing this distinction frees you from expecting true accountability where none exists. It empowers you to respond with clarity, set firm boundaries, and focus on your own healing, rather than being distracted by performative gestures that are not grounded in empathy or responsibility. Shame in a narcissist often manifests as isolation, both for themselves and for those around them. When they feel, even unconsciously, regret for their actions, they rarely process it in a healthy way. Instead of facing their shame directly, they retreat, withdraw, or create emotional distance. This isolation serves as a protective mechanism, shielding them from the vulnerability that comes with acknowledging their mistakes. It allows them to avoid the discomfort of reflection and preserves the illusion of control over their self-image. This withdrawal is not always obvious, and it can be confusing to those on the receiving end. Sometimes the narcissist becomes cold, distant, or unresponsive, leaving you to interpret their behavior. Other times, they may create literal or emotional barriers, subtly punishing you for perceived slights or forcing you into a position where you question yourself. Their shame fuels this behavior. By isolating, they manage the inner conflict between their hidden awareness of wrongdoing and the outward projection of perfection. Shame as isolation also explains why narcissists rarely seek reconciliation in meaningful ways. They are uncomfortable with introspection and rarely develop the empathy necessary to repair the harm they've caused. Instead, they may distance themselves emotionally to manage their inner discomfort, leaving others feeling abandoned, confused, and hurt. The isolation is as much for their own protection as it is a form of control over those around them, subtly reinforcing their power while avoiding vulnerability. Understanding this dynamic is empowering, recognizing that their withdrawal is a reflection of their shame, not your worth, allows you to stop internalizing their distance as rejection or failure. It gives you clarity, helping you set boundaries and maintain your emotional health. When you see that their shame drives their isolation, you can separate their struggles from your own life and focus on your healing, growth, and the relationships that truly honor your value. The narcissist's hidden shame, projections, avoidance of accountability, and manipulative behaviors all have a profound impact on you, even if you don't immediately recognize it. Living with someone who consistently deflects blame, manipulates guilt, or apologizes superficially can leave you doubting yourself, questioning your worth, and second-guessing your perceptions. Over time, their behavior chips away at your confidence and distorts your sense of reality, making it easy to internalize the harm they caused as though it were your fault. Understanding the narcissist's hidden patterns shifts this perspective. When you recognize that their shame, defensiveness, and emotional manipulation are rooted in their own inner struggles, not a reflection of your value, you can start separating their actions from your self-worth. Their inability to acknowledge wrongdoing, their tendency to isolate, and their skill at projecting guilt are all mechanisms to protect themselves from facing the truth. They were never fully capable of giving you the validation or accountability you deserved, and accepting this is a step toward reclaiming your power. This insight allows you to stop carrying the weight of their hidden conscience. You no longer need to explain, justify, or fix their behavior because it is theirs to manage, not yours. Instead, you can focus on your own healing, boundaries, and emotional freedom. Recognizing their impact empowers you to rebuild your life with clarity and confidence, prioritizing relationships and experiences that affirm your value. Ultimately, understanding how the narcissist's shame and manipulation affect you is liberating. It shifts the responsibility back to where it belongs, with them. Your healing, growth, and peace of mind are yours to cultivate, independent of their patterns. When you reclaim this perspective, you move from being a participant in their drama to being the author of your own life, a life no longer defined by the distortions of their hidden shame. The truth is this: the narcissist's shame, their projections, their manipulative guilt, and their avoidance of accountability are not about you. They are about them. Every slight, every criticism, every superficial apology was never a reflection of your worth, but a mirror of their own hidden conflicts, fears, and insecurities. Understanding this allows you to step out of the fog of their manipulation and see the reality clearly. Their shame may be hidden, their awareness delayed, their apologies empty, but recognizing these patterns is liberating. It frees you from internalizing their blame, questioning your perceptions, or waiting for validation that will never come. You realize that their withdrawal, their projections, and their emotional games were never personal. They were defensive strategies to protect themselves from truths they could not face. And here is the most important part: their shame, their avoidance, their manipulations, they do not define you. Your healing, your peace, and your sense of self are entirely within your control. You have the power to reclaim your boundaries, your confidence, and your life from the effects of their behavior. By understanding their patterns, you gain clarity, empowerment, and freedom. The narcissist may carry their shame silently, but you do not have to carry it for them. Their hidden struggles are theirs to bear. Your focus is on your growth, your resilience, and your emotional liberation. When you step fully into this truth, you move from being entangled in their drama to living authentically and powerfully, no longer bound by the shadows of their hidden guilt. Their shame is theirs, and your life, your joy, your peace, and your freedom is yours.